Hey there, guys. Sorry about talking a little bit quietly, but just like most of this month, this video is being recorded at night when people are sleeping in my house, and Pooh is being featured in this video, so hopefully you don't mind too much. I've been thinking a lot lately. Those of you who watch all of my videos on this channel know that I haven't been doing very well physically, and since I can't really do a lot when I'm not doing well physically, I have a lot of time to just sit here and think about life and, you know, all the questions we have about our own lives and the universe and all that good stuff. And one of the things I was thinking about is the fact that people are so afraid to be the least bit negative on YouTube. Everybody wants it to just be this really positive place, and that's okay. I mean, it's important to have a positive place to exist in the world because life can be really difficult and it can be really nasty sometimes. So I think it is extremely important to have a place where you can just laugh and smile and have a great time, and YouTube's really, really good for that. A lot of people make entire channels based on just having fun, pranking each other, joking around, and making people laugh. But I think that as important as that is, it's equally important to talk about the more serious aspects of life and the things that in the real world, most people are afraid to bring up in conversation because they're viewed as unpleasant or inappropriate. And one of the things I've been thinking about is actually part of the reason why I haven't been doing well in a physical sense lately. My disease gets triggered, the pain side of it gets triggered a lot by intense amounts of stress. Now, there's obviously no possible way to avoid all stress in the world. That's just not something that can be done. But I'm supposed to do my very best to avoid as much stress as I possibly can. And for the most part, I do a good job of that. But there comes times in your life when things just get hard. And there's not a lot you can do about it. It's just some things in this world are out of your control. And one of the things that's on my control is the fact that I have reached a stage in my life now where most of the people I truly, truly care about and love are getting older now. Animals and people, they're getting older, and it's not like I just have, a sand glass and I can just stop time by turning it sideways or something, as ideal as that would be sometimes. And two of the people in my life that are getting older right now and that have it's been really hard watching them get older are my grandparents. And one of the things that's been so hard about it is the fact that a lot of people, no matter how well they know me, they don't understand, because everyone's experience with their grandparents is completely different, just like your experience with anyone is different. And when I try to talk about this, a lot of people are just saying things along the lines of like, oh yeah, my grandparents died like 5 years ago or something, and it really sucked, and it was tough and everything, and that's about it. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. It's not just tough for me because I have a relationship with my grandparents that is really difficult to explain. It's very, very good. It's very, very positive, and it's existed in this world where it almost feels weird to call them my grandparents because I consider them to be so much more than that, and they're more like second set of parents to me. They're like another mom, another dad, and also my best friends in the whole world. When I was a kid, the vast majority of my friends had between 2 and 4 sets of grandparents. And that just depended on, whether or not their parents were divorced and stuff. Hi, Raji. And I thought that was so crazy, but also kind of cool. And I remember when I was really little, I didn't understand it, and I liked to watch the Home Alone movies at Christmas time, like what kid didn't? And at one point in Home Alone 2, the old man in the toy store asks Kevin McAllister how he got so much money, and he says he had a lot of grandparents. And I remember looking at my parents and being like, how can he have a lot of grandparents? And like, oh, well, like a lot of people have between like 2 and 4 sets. And I couldn't understand it because I'd only ever had one set of grandparents my entire life. And the funny thing is, like, as I got older, a lot of people started to pity me for that. They would be like, oh, I feel really bad for you because, you know, everybody's got like a couple different sets they get to visit and spend time with and everything, and this is it for you. And my great grandparents were gone long before I was born, so like my grandma and my grandpa, that's it. And they're also only the second generation of people in their family in America, and my dad's the third generation of that family in America. And one of the sad things about that is the fact that, unfortunately, the country that my great grandpa basically escaped from to come to America no longer exists. In World War II, there were a lot of countries that really went through it, and that just happened to be one of them. It's not a thing. And it got split between all these different countries. And as a result of that, and the fact that my great grandfather only had a fourth grade education, we don't really know where our family is. So my dad is technically like gonna be the last one. Pretty much my dad and my aunt are gonna be the last ones in my family that are like truly of that family only, really, which is kind of sad. But you know, we make the best of it. And I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm getting to my point soon. Basically, I'm thinking about my grandparents a lot because my grandma's health basically mirrors mine and vice versa. It's kind of funny because we looked at her wedding photo once and realized I look exactly the way she did when she got married. So I look just like her, and my health is just like hers. And it's a little scary because I'm watching what she's going through now and knowing there's a high chance that'll happen to me too, which is gonna suck. And over the past like 10 years or so, she's got basically scar tissue in her brain because a lot of her issues are to the fact that she had brain tumors and stuff. And she had to have them operated on in the 70s, and we didn't have the same technology in the 70s that we do now. So they did the best they could with what they had, but there's a ton of scar tissue there. And over the last, especially 10 years, it's gotten really hard for her. And she started having these massive seizures that would last anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and stuff. And the doctors kept on doing everything they could. They honestly did. And the problem with her is they always knew something was medically wrong with her, but no one could ever figure out what in the world it was. They were like, it seems like there's like a list of medical things that are wrong with her, and we can't figure out what exactly they are. And if you can't figure out what someone has wrong with them, how can you fix the thing? So that's been the problem. Like, there was a point where she was on so many medications I could barely keep track of the amount of pills she was on and stuff. And she had to take seizure medicines and get a bunch of surgeries for that and stuff. And she had to take diabetes medicine for a while, and then she dumped a bunch of weight and didn't need it anymore. And she started getting really bad dementia and stuff. And these issues where she just wouldn't feel well and wouldn't be able to eat, or she'd be in a lot of pain. And it's really sad because around this time last year, she was having the seizures and she was having trouble eating and stuff, and she'd get really confused. Like, she had the dementia and she'd get confused. You are the cutest. And the thing was, she was confused about like stuff, not about people. Like, you go over and visit her, she knew who you were, so she knew who everyone was, she knew who she was, she knew that she was in her house. But she was like, if I try to go outside right now and walk the dog, like, I'm gonna get lost. I won't remember which house I live in and stuff. And she would get really weak of body to the point where like all she could do is just lay there and basically do nothing. And it was really hard for her because she was so weak of body that she couldn't even communicate. Like, she couldn't talk to anybody in the room. She couldn't really make a sound. She had to rely on everyone for everything. She even needed help getting transferred from her regular chair to like her wheelchair to go to the bathroom and stuff. And she started getting really frustrated because I would sit beside her and I'd be like, guys, like, be careful what you say around her because I'm pretty sure she's aware. And they're like, no, 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 like, she's pretty much a veggie right now. So, like, they would say stuff that I know they weren't trying to be horrible, but this is the problem with being a disabled person. You have people, even people that you know deep down inside really do love and care about you, like your family and your close friends and stuff, and they just decide like, oh, the disabled person's in the room and we'll just, you know, talk about them like one room away, like they can't hear us, or we'll talk over them about their medical stuff instead of asking them about it and stuff. And it gets really frustrating and annoying. And they were doing stuff like that and complaining about how much money her medication was costing and stuff, which really hurt her. And talking about, like, at one point, one of my aunts, like, I was sitting next to my grandma on the couch at like Christmas time or something, and one of them said something along the lines of like, oh, enjoy your time with her because this will probably be her last Christmas. And I was like, she's literally right here. And then my uncle called my cousin who lived like 3 hours away and couldn't make it. And he was just like, yeah, grandma hasn't been doing well, so I decided to call you so you could say hi to her. And she like completely ignored my grandma the whole phone call because she couldn't speak well and only talked to my uncle instead. And I like saw the expression on my grandma's face where she was like, what the hell, I'm right here. And I felt so bad for her. And a few weeks on, it's like she woke up one day and she was like all better. She was her again. She was fine. It was like nothing had ever even happened. And one of the first things she said to me was, I know what people were saying about me. I could hear them and I could tell you right now everything they were saying about me. And I was like, wow, guys, nice. I told you she was aware. I could tell on her facial expressions and stuff that she knew what was going on around her. Like, it was so frustrating to me that they didn't seem to care. And then, like, no one really apologized for the way they were talking about her. And so basically, she was, you know, more or less okay for a while, and then she tanked again. And the way it's been over like the last 10 years is she'll do okay, and then she'll tank, and she'll come back up, and then she'll do okay. And then it got to the point where, like, you know, every month she did a little worse. And then every week. Now it's every day. Every day she's doing a little worse and a little worse. And my grandma really is my best friend. She's always been there for me. She really has been another mother more than a grandma. As soon as she realized that I was only going to get to have one set of grandparents, she made damn sure that I didn't miss out on any love. And I honestly feel like I'm luckier than people with 6 grandparents because I'm sure I get more love on a day-to-day basis from only the one than they do from like 3 grandmas. And she's just always had my back. She's always made me laugh. I have a head full of nothing but memories of her cracking me up and making me smile and stuff. And I remember when I started college, my campus was only like 15 minutes from their house, and I went twice a week. And I would tell my dad, like, hey, after I'm done in school, we should just go and hang out at grandma's house. And I just hang out there after school for like 3 hours because I felt like it and it was fun. And my grandpa's having it hit him really hard. He was in denial about it for a while that she's doing so bad. And like, to be totally honest with you and face the reality of this whole subject, we know she's gonna be gone soon. My grandpa was having a really hard time coming to terms with that, and I kept trying to, you know, say like, I know it's frustrating, but you're gonna have to let him just deal with it in his own time and stuff. You can't force people to come to grips with something like that. You have to just let them do what they need to do. And he's finally at the point where he's emptying his whole house out. He's giving away everything that he owns to any of us that he loves, basically. He even gave me these two little acrylic hummingbirds that mean everything to me. Hummingbirds signify something really special to him. My uncle died in like 2011 of a really rare and painful form of cancer, and it just wrecked my grandpa. And my uncle loved hummingbirds, and hummingbirds seemed to love him. Like, I have photos of him where they're like sitting in his hand. They didn't even mind him at all. And when he died, everyone gave my grandpa and grandma hummingbirds so they'd have something positive and nice to look at that reminded them of him. And the last time I visited them, my grandpa just gave me the hummingbirds, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that really means everything to me, and I never want anything to happen to them. And I know if people just saw these random acrylic hummingbirds, they'd think like it was no big deal, but it's really the world to me. And yeah, he's giving everything away for two reasons. One is, while my grandma's still alive, he feels like both of them are giving the stuff away, and not like he's just giving her stuff away for her. Even though she's basically a veggie, she's like awake, she's conscious, but she doesn't know who she is anymore. She doesn't know who anyone in the room is. She is confused. She doesn't know where she is. She can't do anything for herself. She's at a point now where all she can do is drink like 3 sips of coffee and eat like 1 bite of a muffin and 1 bite of a banana, and that's all she's ingesting and stuff. And she keeps going to the hospital because her body's just quitting on her. And so yeah, he's emptying his house out basically and giving all of their stuff away. And then the other reason he's doing it is because he's been really honest with me, and I'm glad that he can, because we talked on the phone this morning for a long time, and he was like, I can't vent to anybody, like I can't talk to anybody because they just want me to be happy-go-lucky, positive grandpa all the time, and I can't be right now. I'm struggling. She's dying, and I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I've been with her for so long. I just don't want to live in a world without her. And I was like, I'm never gonna be mad at you for telling me stuff like that. I know that you're not saying you're gonna like shoot yourself in the head or something when she dies. I know that. And he was like, exactly. And everyone thinks that I'm gonna like go jump off a bridge or something. I'm like, no, just, it's more than just, oh, you've been together a long time. I was like, all old people have been together a long time, so obviously it hurts all them. But then on top of that, you've had to take care of her in her failing health for like a little over a decade now. That's a lot, and people need to give you a break. And he was like, yeah, it seems like everyone just thinks I'm this mean guy now. And then all of a sudden they want to ask me all these questions, and I was like, this is my main point of the video, even though it's taken me like 20 minutes to get to it. One of the topics we brought up while we were talking on the phone today was the fact that I was like, I need to be honest with you about something. And he's like, what? And I was like, I get frustrated with my cousins a lot. And he's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, like, I love my cousins. You know I do. And he's like, yeah, of course. And I was like, but they only really spend time with you on holidays, like when they're obligated to. They do the old come over for my grandparents' birthday, come over for Christmas and Easter and for their anniversary, and that's the only time they really talk to them or see them. And I was like, I don't think that's right. And he's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, because here's the thing. When you're in school and you're in history class, you're going to learn the technical side of things, and only one side. Whatever country you're in, you're going to hear that country's side of like World War II and stuff, and the Cold War. You're going to hear from America, the Americans were the heroes and they did everything right, and like Japan and Germany were bad and stuff. And then if you're in Japan, you're going to hear Japan was good and Americans were doing bad things. And if you're in Germany, you'll hear like the Nazis were bad, but it wasn't, necessarily Germany's fault. So like, it depends on where you are. You're only going to really hear one side of what happened, and it's not going to be personal. You're just going to hear the facts. You're going to hear, this is what happened on this day, and this is what happened on this day, in terms of like who got bombed and stuff and what general did what. But you're not going to hear how it affected people. I was like, once the generation of our grandparents is gone, all of those life experiences are gone too, and there will be no way for us to ever hear them again. And I was like, that's why I feel sorry for them. They have chosen to not spend much time with you and to not really get to know you as people. And when you are both gone, they're not gonna know you. They're gonna realize at your funeral that they don't know their own grandparents, that they haven't bothered to find out all these cool things about their life experiences and how profoundly certain things affected them. That's really sad. And it brought up this, kind of idea in my head that I don't think, on the whole, people appreciate their grandparents nearly as much as they should. I think people love their grandparents. I think that people visit their grandparents when they think they're supposed to and they think they're cool and stuff, but I think a lot of people don't really, on some, subconscious level, want to know them that well because excuse me, because the generational gap makes things hard. And I understand that, it absolutely does. And they're like, well, my grandparents, I only see them when I have to because I love them, but like they say these really racist things when I'm around them because they think that's appropriate. And I try to tell them, no, it's not, but they just are set in their ways. Or they say really homophobic things and I can't talk to them, or like bring my gay friends around them and stuff because they'll say something nasty. And I'm like, yeah, and that's not okay. And it's annoying when you have, some older generations who are so set in their ways they refuse to see the world as it is now and they refuse to accept minority groups and stuff. That's terrible, but it's still important to hear multiple sides of an issue. It's still important to, even though it's not fun to listen to them when they're saying stuff like that, you should still listen anyway because it'll help you understand why they feel that way and prevent people from acting like that in the future. It's just like history lessons. It's not fun to hear about the Holocaust. It's not fun to hear about slavery and stuff. But it's important anyway because when you hear about what the motivations were behind those events, you can help prevent it from happening in the future. So, I don't know, whether your grandparents are really chill like mine and you can literally talk to them about anything and not worry about them judging you or being inappropriate, or whether they're, old people who are set in their ways saying really inappropriate, offensive things, as long as your grandparents aren't like really horrible to you and abusive and stuff, please do your best to spend as much time with them as possible, not just on obligatory holidays, because once they're gone, they're gone. You'll never have them again. And they really do love you. They're responsible for why you even exist. And that knowledge is going to be gone. And I'm sorry if I've been a little less positive than usual lately. Things have been hard. This is hitting me harder than anything ever has. It is absolutely going to be the hardest loss I've ever struggled through in my life. I don't know what it's going to do to my body. I'm sure it's going to do something though, because it already is. And between the bad weather, the stress of that, and just my disease progressing, things have been hard on me lately and I'm in a lot of pain, but I appreciate you guys staying here anyway, sticking by my side, saying really nice things. As I mentioned in one of my other videos, I do see your comments. I don't really interact that much on here. I prefer to interact on Instagram, but I do see you and I do appreciate when you guys say nice things to me when stuff like this is happening. And I am going to keep putting up videos, even if they're just little informal ones like this that I record on my phone instead of my camera and stuff, just to update you on stuff. But yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I just think that even though it's important to have YouTube be this positive place that makes people laugh, it's equally important to talk about the aspects of life that people are usually afraid to be honest about, and this is one of those things. But as always, go ahead and do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it. Tell your grandparents you love them and call them as soon as you can, and I'll see you guys soon.